Hello there, it's Kim again coming to you with another paper crafting video. Today, of course, we have our next paper pumpkin kit. My name is Kim, I'm from Wild Rose and Pearl. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based out of the Okanagan, British Columbia, Canada. So yes, next paper pumpkin. So this would be April's paper pumpkin. And this is a monthly subscription. You can sign up and then you can pause it if you need to, not like other subscriptions. This one you're able to just pause. And if you don't like the preview, there's previews all online with Stampin' Up! So you can get a kind of an idea, a sneak peek of what's going to come. So yeah, it's one of those great subscriptions where you're not committed. You can pause. I paused a couple months ago and I'm back into it again. Yeah. So let's open it up because it's always a surprise. There's a sneak peek, but you don't get to see everything. So yeah, let's open it up. This is what it looks like when you get it. So we've got our stamp set, and there is a printout for this, which is a little easier to see than this photopolymer stamp set. So we're just going to put that aside. And then you always get a stamping spot. And this one is Peaceful Pine. It's our one of our brand new in colors for this year, next upcoming 2 years. So we've got Peaceful Pine, nice green. And then this is our kit for this month. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Let's get it the right direction. Look at that. Okay, so first thing I'm noticing is this is not the same size as the backing. So don't know if they're maybe changing something up. Sorry about the glare there, but I'm going to open this up. Trying to keep the glare off of it. Well, that didn't work very well. I thought that was going to be efficient by just going on the front there. But yeah, let's open it up. Holy moly. Today is one of them days where I'm just needing a little extra, just a little extra help there. I don't know, maybe the plastic got thicker. It's pretty funny. Okay, let's slide this off. Now, Paper Pumpkin comes with everything you need, except for, I would say, probably a pair of scissors. And if you're a little extra, you could get a take your pick tool, which helps with projects, and a bone folder. They're not required. Also, you can upgrade your stamping block. When you get your first one, you will get this size, and it is totally, I mean, it completely does the job. But if you wanted, you could get the thicker, ergonomically correct stamping block. But yeah, so all your stamps will fit on this block because they give you this one with your first kit. So every stamped image will fit within this. You won't need to buy other sizes. It will all fit within this frame. So I just upgrade. So that's the one I'll pull in today. And you get all of your adhesive is included in the kit. So you won't have to buy extra adhesives unless you want to do alternative projects or envelopes or anything, unless you want to do alternative projects. Okay, so here is our set. It's called Lakeside Retreat. And yeah, these look pretty fabulous. So you always open it up. Here is where we do our sorting and organizing. On the back is what's going to tell us what's in the kit. So we've got our kit components, and it says contains supplies for 9 cards, 9 envelopes. You can scan this for a video, but I'm going to do the video for you. It also says the coordinating Stampin' Up! Colors in case you want to go off script. You've got a Zero Afternoon, Balmy Blue, Cajun Craze, Crisp Cantaloupe. That's a new color as well. Well, a returning color. It's one of our in colors. Gray Granite, Misty Moonlight, Old Olive, Peaceful Pine. Also that new color. Pecan Pie, Pool Party, Soft Seafoam, Very Vanilla. Lots of colors this month. Okay. And then here's your printout. So these are the stamps that you're going to get. We used to get a little slip inside, and this also was the same size as the backing paper. So there's a difference. I think I heard something about how they were going to change these out so that they can fit inside of our new sleeves. So we have new sleeves that Stampin' Up! Has provided all of our stamp sets and all of our die cuts are now in this new packaging that's long and slim and very like very, what to say, versatile for organizing. Everything's kind of flatter than the CD cases or DVD cases we used to have. That's aging me. But yeah, so this I think is to format to fit inside there because it would be too big if it was this way. So now the stamp imagery is going to be on this packaging. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a thanks, happy birthday, happy Father's Day, older, wiser, better. You are a lifesaver. You are an inspiration, dad, son, and just a couple of images on this one. Now remember, we don't use all of them when we make our cards, and they give you some variety so you can choose what you want to do. I really like this one. Older, wiser, better. Like a good bottle of wine. Okay. So now first up, I always show you the envelopes because it's not really part of the project. You don't need to, unless you want to make alternatives. These envelopes are just extras. So they've got 9 envelopes. They're all the same. And then the pattern doesn't go to the inside. It used to before, but I've noticed that they're not really doing that a lot anymore. But you can cut these up and use these as extra designer paper if you like. Okay, and then like I said before, we're going to open this up and we'll start organizing based on this first sleeve here. So first up, we are going to need, I'll put this up here. I want to make sure it's in the frame so you can see it. I'm going to put all this stuff to the side here, but let's make sure this is in the frame and then we will start organizing. So number 1 is going to give us a scene. Oh, look at that. And look at the back. Like cut that off, use a regular card base, and you could use this for another card. This is also matching an upcoming suite that's coming up on May 5th, and it is gorgeous. Like it's lovely. It's a lovely suite of products. Okay, so we've got that. And then we've got, now I'm going to pull these aside because I always seem to need one sheet of everything. So if I pull out one, because we duplicate 3 cards, 3 designs, 3 each. Okay. So I need this piece here. Okay. And then I'm going to need this fish. This fish looks like a nice trout, brook trout maybe. Okay. And then we need a square piece. Looks like it's the regular normal square. So we'll pull that one out. Took me a while to get started today. Sorry about that. Just had a couple of things was talking through a couple of new things that we have going on. Okay, and then, oh, this one. This one, I'm going to need this. So they've given us an extra one just in case we mess up stamping. They do that sometimes. So the 3 projects would have given us 3, but we get 4 just in case we have a oopsie. Okay. Oh, and then on this one, look at all this cool stuff. We're going to need the plaid piece. So these are all machine cut, so they're really easy to pop out. I think we've got everything we need. These are our lovely embellishments that we have, and they're like little stones. That is so fun. And I know that we're not getting stones in our next, like with the suite, there's not stones. So this is really cool. There are some cool other things with the suite, but not these stones. These are really neat looking. Okay, so that's going to be our embellishments. And that's all the pieces that we need for that one. So that's card number 1. Then we'll move on to card number 2. We need a striped one. very nautical lakeside. A blue sheet. So we're done with that one. We'll put that aside. We need this lovely beach scene here. Put that one in. We need a green. It's funny, when you look at the picture, it looks more like a softer green, but then here you can see it's soft sea foam. Okay, a bicycle. And the piece of wood. There's our bicycle. Grab our piece of wood. And then we need the box that has a curve to the bottom of it. And they provided us 4 of these, so we have an oopsie daisy, or alternatively, if you need it, to make an alternative, if you want to make an alternative. Again, with the backing of this one, which I thought was fabulous. And then look at this, we get double-sided on this one too, so you could do another card. Always fun to make alternatives if you feel adventurous. Okay, and then we need this big circle. We need the blue one. So that one's done. We're grabbing another square, but I believe this is the smaller one. Actually, I won't. Interesting. I will figure out, there's two of these rectangles here, but one is slightly smaller than the other. So I guess I'll figure out as I go which one is needed based on the photo. So we're done with those now. This one's got a lot on it. There's going to be a ton of layers to these. Lots of fun. Okay, one lake scene, life jacket, vintage life jacket. Very cute. And 2 paddles. We got our blue sign. Yep. 2 paddles. Now I can see all these little white bits on here. So I will be trimming those up. And then we need the pink, the petal pink one. Looks like lots of layers on these cards. These are gonna be so fun. Okay, beautiful design. Gotta love those artists, Stampin' Up! Artists. Okay, now we've collected all of our pieces. Then we're going to go from the center sheet and we're gonna move on to image number 1, it says right here. So this will be our instructions for our number 1 card. Okay, put that up at the top here, and then we'll start working down here. Gonna pull in my block, pull in my stamps, pull the backing off, and it looks like we've got a lot of stamping to do. So let's pull in our components for card number 1. And they've done the instructions a little bit different now. So they used to do kind of like steps, and now they've separated into stamping, adhesives, and then final look. Things are changing. Things are changing a little bit. Okay. So let's start off with stamping. So we're going to be stamping this one and this one. Now let's see. I just remember how I said I wanted to see how big the square is. So I'm going to look at this one here, and then I'm going to go to the third one and look at the third one. Now the third one, the frame is a little bit tighter than it is on this one. So I now know that this one is going to be swapped. So this one and this one, I'm swapping. I'm using the smaller frame for this card, or the smaller white piece, sorry, for this card. Okay, so let's pull off our stamping pieces and get those ready. I'm going to put that back to the left there. Do a little bit of trimming just to get rid of those little connecting pieces. There's not very many on these. It's just little connecting pieces that look a little, they just look like little dots, especially with the white. Okay, so we are going to take our Happy Father's Day stamp. And I don't depend on the edges of my stamp block to keep it straight. Some people do. They want to use the edge of their stamp block to keep it straight. I like to just really line it up right. So I'm just seasoning the stamp by getting rid of some of the factory residue on there. And then I just do a little wash. And then my stamp is ready to go. Another thing I do is I practice a few times to get the ink, to see how the ink saturates the stamp. So then I'll pull in a scrap piece of paper and I'll do that. So to open up your stamping spot, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to line it up, pushing away from the body, never towards the body with anything sharp. We're going to take our stamping spot and we're just going to kind of cut a line along the edge there. Away from the body, away from your hands. And then it opened up really nice. They do usually have a serrated edge to these. It looks like they've taken that away too. But used to be a serrated edge, but it never seemed to line up. So that's how I open mine. So then, because I don't want to lose my lid, I always keep the other side adhered. And then I take my stamp pad and I stamp onto my stamp. That way it's a little bit easier. And like I said before, I stamp this on a piece of scrap paper. So I'm just going to bring in a piece of scrap, make sure my stamp is stamping really good. And usually, if I do it just a couple of times, I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that my stamp is very clear. Oops. And by seasoning, there you go. As you can see, it just gets clearer and clearer every time. There's a little bit of pooling on this one, and then this one is nice and clear. It's just getting clearer and clearer as you go. So if you just stamp a couple of times, it just gets clearer and clearer and more seasoned. Okay. And it looks like we're doing Happy Father's Day directly in the center. Up and down and left and right. Happy Father's Day. And then we're going to pull in this fun little imagery into it next. We're just making it look like a beach sign. So if I want it to be straight, something like this that can curve easily, I lay it down and then I pick it up with my block and it stays in its natural position. Just gonna do that seasoning again. A little cleaning off. Just in case it moved, I'm going to lay it back down again and pick it up. We'll do a couple of stamps. And the beauty thing is if you don't like your stamp on this one specifically, you can just flip it over. That's the beauty of paper. It has two sides, right? I'm pretty okay with mine. So I'm gonna continue on here. And we've got one at the top. Looking good. And you don't really have to push hard. Stamping is not about pushing hard. It's delicate. It's delicate. So there we go. Happy Father's Day. Then we're going to stamp this one. I already trimmed off my edges. Perfect. What does this one say? You are an inspiration. Ha. Okay. I'm just going to put Older, wiser, better. Just because I like it so much. I could do it the way it's scripted, but I'm going to go off script. Just because I love this one. It's kind of just more funny. It's a little more sense of humor with it. Older, wiser, better. Okay. And it moved a little bit while I was scrubbing it. So I'm going to lay it back down again. Like I said I would. Pick it up. Get some ink on there. We are coming upon our camping season soon, and these kind of remind me of camping at a lake. The O was a little bit off, so it might have been a little squishy on the left there. But yeah, we're coming into camping season and lake season, although some of the other provinces in Canada are still dealing with snow. I mean, I'm kind of giggling a little bit, but it's not that funny. I feel bad because they're excited for the next season to come too, and they're just not getting that. Woo, I thought that was going to drag a bit. Older, wiser, better. Love it. Okay. So next up, we're going to stamp onto our scene on the front of our card. So I'm not going to fold my card over because sometimes the paper wants to pop up if you don't have a solid crease. So I'm just going to keep it open, and then I'm going to stamp on it with it open. And they're calling for some of the, they're calling for the birds to be used and these cattails. So yeah, some of the other provinces have a lot of snow, and I know someone that went to Banff recently, and they were not even close to moving into that summer season. The ice is still melting, and they just got a dump of snow again. So yeah, it's pretty hard for those who are excited for the next season to come, which I think as a whole, we move through things really quickly now. I don't know if it's because of the world kind of shows us like the next phase or what it is, but everybody seems to move through anything like really quickly. When you go to the grocery store, like the supermarket, not the grocery store, but the supermarket, we're rolling into the next season before we've even finished the one before. Like if you go in September, we're already looking at Halloween. So, and yeah, when you live in a place that's warmer, some people online get to see that you're getting, you're getting sun and you're getting all these, I'm getting distracted now. You're getting sun and you're getting all these beautiful next season parts, and it makes it kind of, hard for the people that are not moving through. Although, I guess the same would apply, though, that they get snow before we get snow. So sometimes we are sitting here waiting for Christmas snow, and we're not getting Christmas snow. So, I mean, it works both ways. But, yeah, I have noticed that, like, even when you go to Starbucks, they're bringing out pumpkin spice, and it's August. And you're just sitting there going, hey, wait a minute. The leaves haven't even fallen on the trees. The pumpkins are nowhere near ready. But yeah, it's just something to notice. But yeah, this reminds me of lake season and camping and just that next phase. Once school is done for the year, then we can get back out there and enjoy those summer months. What's your favorite part about spring and summer? I'd love to hear what your favorite parts are. Okay. So we've got our little birdies up in the left-hand corner, and we're about a quarter of an inch away from the corner edges. Very nice. Okay. All right. So now that we've done all of our stamping, I've done from left to right here, all of the stamping, now we can start building up with all of our adhesives. So they've given us some tear and tape, And they've given us some dimensionals here. Now, if you have snail and you want to use snail, you can use, sorry, not snail, Stampin' Seal. That's an old terminology. If you want to use your Stampin' Seal and bring that in and then save your tear tape for something else, go ahead if you've got it. But if you don't, like I said, everything you need is in the kit. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of trimming on these ones. And this one here is calling for some tear tape on one side. So our left-hand side is gonna get tear tape. Or it would be the right-hand side from the back. We're gonna get some tear tape for this one. I'm gonna push this aside because this is not part of it. So I'm gonna put this aside and bring all the components in. We've got our little fishy black here. Okay, let me finish this one up because I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, I'm gonna bring in my Take Your Pick tool just because I love using it for this. It is a great tool. We're gonna place our dimensionals on the right-hand back side here. 1, 2, 3. These are mini dimensionals. They are not the full size. So we've got that. Then we're gonna take our Happy Father's Day and we're gonna put some tear and tape on the back of this. Or again, you can use your Stampin' Seal. If you have it, it's very quick. Stampin' Seal is so quick. You just shoot and that's it. Very quick. So we've got top and bottom. Then we've got our fishy. And the way they've done it is they've put it this way. Now, if I'm looking at this, if this is getting popped up on dimensionals, that means the head of the fish is the side that's going to need the dimensionals. They've kind of got it as the tail of the fish. So I'm going to actually correct that and put it as the head of the fish because I can see in the imagery here that the tail is going to be flat on the backing of this. Let's do our little cuts on this one. In the background, you can probably hear my washing machine spin cycle going off. Always the way of a household, multitasking. Anything you can get done for you, you get done for you. Get your machines working, right? I always joke. That's the start of my day. Always making sure I get my machines working. Okay. So again, I can see here that I'm going to be over top of this piece. So what would be the right-hand side of my imagery will be the part that is flat, and this part will be popped up. So the way they describe this is like you're flipping it this way rather than flipping it this way, right? So the way the picture is describing it, it's kind of this way, which would work the same for my fishy. If I flipped it this way, my fishy would have its dimensionals on this side. So kind of important to know, right? Otherwise you're putting your adhesives on the wrong side, and when you go to layer it up, you're going to end up with all of these mismatched layers. So hopefully even if that's the only tip you get from today, that it's a good tip. Okay. And then we're going to place our, so making sure you're looking at the imagery, it kind of gives you an example of how it's gonna go. But you gotta do the puzzle that way and figure out what they're showing you. Okay, so we've got dimensionals in the middle. Now, if you're mailing stuff like this, sometimes it's really good to think about how you can get layers to like squish together so that if they go through the mail, you don't pay for extra thickness. I don't mail these per se, so I'm not concerned about it, but some people do a lot of mailing of these types of cards. So yeah, something else to be conscious of. I'm going to bring this in, but if you only had your stamping block, This is a great bone folder. If you use the side of it, it's a fabulous bone folder. Nice and creased envelope or card now. Okay. So now we just start layering up our pieces, and they've pulled everything into this image here, and then you just get to look at the imagery and put everything where it belongs. So we're going to start off with our plaid piece. Now where's my little garbage can? There it is. Pulling the backings off our plaid piece. If you got nails, you can do that. I'm not really good with nails, but if you got them, use them. Okay, so this one goes on the right hand side. I'm gonna say it's about 1/2 inch, maybe a little less than 1/2 inch. And this is where, if you have grid paper, you can use it to do the lining up really nicely. So there we go. We've got our, you know what? It's probably 1/4 inch actually. It won't make a difference. Okay, I would say it's probably about 1/4 inch. And then we're going to grab our sign piece here. Now, I think I'd like to put this on first. I probably should have put this on beforehand, but the way the imagery shows it to you, it's kind of nicer to not work with something when it's got dimensionals on it. When it's flat, I should have layered that first, but the way they've done it in only 3 steps now. So you have to really decide for yourself if you want to step ahead and do things. See, no nails. It's much trickier for me. Okay, this one is about 1/2 inch from the bottom. And I'm kind of going to line it up with the picture, the way they've lined up right up against the green. And then they've got a slight sliver up from the green plaid line below. So that's looking good. I've just covered a bit more of my dock than the original. Perfect. Then we're going to add our little banner here for the top. Love my saying, older, wiser, better. And that one's pretty much centered with the little posts for the side sitting off there. So there we go. That's lining up just right. And you can see here why the dimensionals would only be on this side. They wouldn't be on this side, or this piece would be popped up, right? We're trying to get that that left-hand side of everything, all of our elements, equal with the plaid. Okay. And we've got our little fishy here. The alternatives you can make with this would be so fun. Just, stepping up into fun folds and stuff. Be really fun. We've got our little fishy, and it's kind of just dipping into that sign, just a sliver. And then last but not least, we have our little embellishments. So it looks like we've got 2 flat rocks and then 3 more round rocks. So we're going to put a round rock here. At the bottom, and a flat one. Just a little bit off to the left. Ooh, mine are just moving around. These are so cool, these little rocks. Love these. Wish they would have had these. I'm gonna take another flat one, put it in the corner first, and then I'll build off of that. So we've got 1 flat one and 2 round ones. One here. And we've got 1 up here. And they've done it in odd numbers. Odd numbers are great for visual. Rule of thirds or odd numbers. Look at that card. And if I wanted to be extra, I would just take a Wink Stella and do a little bit on the water maybe. That would be my little extra. But we don't have to be extra because they look great just as they are. But sometimes I'm extra. Okay, so number 2. We'll flip this over now. And we'll pull open number 2. And this one's just a little more Martha's Vineyard or Nova Scotia, riding a bicycle on the East Coast, right? Okay. We're going to pull in all of our elements again that we have to stamp. So we're stamping this, and the scene. So let's pull in all 3 of these, 1, 2, and 3. Pull in our stamps again, and I haven't washed some of them because we're just going to use them again, right? And they're seasoned now. So let's pull in our happy birthday. Let me do a little bit of my little trimming here. If I get that all done right away, then it's great. And they're fresh and ready to go. 1, 2, 3. 3 little bits off that one. This one will have 4, usually. Again, that's me being particular. If you're not particular, then this would be super annoying to watch, but okay. Okay. That's good. We've got our happy birthday. We're going to pull that in. And then older, wiser, better. You are a lifesaver. You are an inspiration. I think I might use you are an inspiration on this one. This is the one I'm going to use you are an inspiration on. So I'm kind of just flipping them, just flipping my sentiments. So just seasoning that, getting it ready. Yeah, this fully reminds me of something you would see. I've only been to the East Coast once, but when I did go, I dipped my feet in the ocean, and it was very cold, but very awesome. Ooh, that one's coming out really nice. Okay, let's bring in our stamp piece here. Yeah, the East Coast is beautiful. It has its own, and I didn't go in September, but people have told me that September is the most beautiful time because everything's still open and it's very, all the trees have all their fall leaves and it's beautiful. And one day I will make it back there. If you're from the East Coast, if you're watching and you're from the East Coast, let me know if that's if that is so true, and where would be the best place to go for that? Where would be the best place to go to see all of those beautiful trees in color, and where the towns haven't really closed all their fun the oceanside restaurants and stuff for the winter. I'm not sure when they start to close down. I remember when we went across, it was May. It was May when we went, and a lot of stuff was still closed. Again, the weather's different there in May than it is here in the Okanagan. In the Okanagan, we are quite warm. So oh, I keep thinking it's going to double stamp when it does that little spin, but it's been very good to me today. Okay. So you are an inspiration. And then we're going to pull back in our little, I'll wash these off. We'll pull back in our cattails again. It's already nice and seasoned. Don't have to worry about it. And we're going to do 2 cattails. We're doing 1 on each side of our little beach here. 1 cattail here. it just gets better and better. The more you use your stamps, they just get better and better. Just takes a little time for them to season. I think that's more of a photopolymer issue. It's not really an issue with rubber stamps, but we won't be using. Paper Pumpkin is not rubber stamps. Never been rubber stamps, I don't think. Oh no, wait a second. Wait a second. If I think about it, at the very beginning, it was rubber stamps, but it moved out of rubber stamps pretty quickly into photopolymer. And we have great photopolymer stamps. They are good quality. You can get some from like the dollar store that are not good quality. They're too squishy and your images are not very clear. So this one here, we're just doing on the right hand side. Sorry, I should have mentioned this. This is about 1/8 of an inch in for each one of your cattails from the right and the left. And then these ones here, and we've got a little space in the bottom because we're going to put our little rocks on the bottoms. And then here we've got about 1/4 of an inch. No, not even. I would say 1/8 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch from the edge there. And I've always said, nobody sees the sample. They only see what you give them. So if you're concerned about it being perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect. And exactly like the image shows you. This is about having a creative experience, like having time to be creative. If you want to have, you know, birds flying all the way across, do birds flying all the way across. There is nothing about this that says it has to be this way. Yeah, people don't see the sample, so they don't know what it originally was designed as. Okay, so now that we've got all of our stamping done, we're going to flip this over. And you can see here, when they show you here, they show you that you're going to use 1, and then they show you 2 lines. So now let's go back to our putting all of our pieces on the back here. And these ones are pretty simple. They're not halfway. They're not showing you that you have to have only half with dimensionals, but I think that was a good thing to note on the last one, is when they do half of them with dimensionals and half of them flat, you kind of want to know what you're doing with those. That one's looking good. And then this one is going to be just Stamp and Seal. Or tear and tape. So I'm just laying them out the way they've kind of laid them out here, so I can do it according to the picture. Here, hope I'm still on screen. Not really. Okay. My screen's a little small. My screen's a little small. Okay. Tear and tape on this one. Tear and tape on this one here. We've got 1 and 2. Now, here it's showing on step 3 that you can add these to here before you do anything else. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add these to the blue, and then I'm going to flip the blue back over and add my dimensionals to that. So I'm going to do this first and then add the dimensionals to the back. So I kind of had to look ahead to see that. So I'm going to flip this over, do my spacing on this first. One. And this one is right flush. Looks like it is right flush up against the bottom of that other image. So I've just got it centered, even spacing. And if I was to do 1, 2, it was about 2.5, so that would be 3 spaces down. I'm a little high. It should be 3 spaces down. I should have been down to here. according to the stripes and the stripes on there. I think it will all work out though. It'll be just fine. I'll just space it nicely on the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it over again and put the dimensionals on. And the rest of our pieces are all dimensionals. So I will just put those on. So we've got this layered. They always give you lots of extra dimensionals. They're very generous with them so that you have enough for your projects if you feel like they need a little bit more stability. And we've got 3 on here. Love that. I love 3 for balance. It always seems the easiest to have 3 for balance. Kind of like rock climbing. I've talked about that before. Rock climbing, you have to have 3 points of your body on. So you have 1 leg, 2 arms, or 2 legs, 1 arm, or 3 points on is always the best way. Best way to do climbing. It gives you the most stability. And then you see stuff like Tom Cruise where he's like got 1 arm swinging and he's swinging around. That would probably be a lot more advanced, but if you want good stability, have 3 points on. That was taught to me a long time ago when I was more limber. Okay, so now I'm going to pull in my card base. We'll push those aside, pull in my card base, and again, it's double-sided, so you could use both sides. And we're going to take off our backings and place this one on first. So again, like I did not follow the script perfectly, and my imagery is a little bit higher than the sample. But I don't care because it's still going to be a beautiful card, even though I'm a little bit off. But yes, it says here that it should be 1, 2... It should be 3 stripes down, but you can see here, I'm kind of on the 2nd stripe down. So we're just going to center this left and right. And top and bottom. This is already looking fabulous. Okay, and then our bicycle, let's go with our happy birthday first. We'll start layering from the bottom. 1, 2, 3. This is approximately... So this would be quite a bit higher if I was going according to the drawing, but now I need to kind of space off. So it's about 1/2 inch to the, would that be about 1/2 inch? Probably say about 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch. So I'm a little bit higher than the original drawing. Then we're going to add this one. It should be quite centered to this one actually, so I might have to move it to the right a bit. But let's see. If this one's directly, yeah, I might have to move it to the right a bit. And not always does this work with dimensionals, but I'm gonna cross my fingers here. Yeah, I'm gonna move this to the right a bit. So I would say it's actually about 1/2 inch from the left-hand side of your blue, and then about 1/4 inch up. Yeah, and that's more centered to that green banner now. Okay, and then we've got our bicycle built for 1, not 2, but it does have a lovely little basket in the front. So if you were imaginative, you could imagine you could put a little picnic in there. Okay, and then we've got our wheel tucked just underneath our banner. And the tire is about 1/4 inch past the end of our banner. And the pedal is just above the banner. The tires going in the back there. Looking good. And then we just need 2 flats and 1 round, and those are just on this cattail here. So we've got the flat one in the center, and then we've got 2 rocks, 2 of the rounder rocks, just to the right and the left of that flat one. Put them any way you like. I'm going to make this one go a little bit lower on the left hand side, so it looks a little off kilter. That's how I've chosen to do it. I've made it so it's just a little lower on the left hand side there. So there's card number 2. Okay, and then let's pull in number 3. Last but not least, this one's got quite a bit of layering, and I do love the wood design. Okay, so let's pull in all of our stamping pieces again. We've got the bigger one this time, and then we've got this one here, and we've got our background here. So I'm going to start off with trimming these up. Now this one's very much like a lake cabin, not so much the ocean anymore for this one. We've got a lake cabin feel. Another lake kind of cabin place is Kenora, Ontario in Canada. Beautiful spot. And it has all the beautiful things about lakes are in Kenora, Ontario. We only went through the town on our way to Nova Scotia, and it was beautiful, beautiful. I hear it gets quite buggy. It can get quite buggy, but just beautiful lake country. Oh, here, I just grabbed this one because it was the first one that I saw on my thing, but this is the cattails. And it's actually the last step, but I'm going to pull it in right now. Let's get it done. So we've got our cattails, and we're going to go to the left here about, I'm going to say about a quarter of an inch, and about, what would I say? Let's put this here. So that's nice and centered. So if I was going to do this, it would be about an inch up, and then I'm going to say it's about quarter of an inch from the left. So quarter of an inch from the left, and about an inch up is going to put me right about here. Right about here. And then I'm going to put another one, which is going to be much further down because we're going to have all of our elements quite heavy on the right hand side here. So this is going to be about half an inch out, half an inch in on both sides. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to move that one aside, even though it wasn't the first one I was supposed to stamp. Went a little off script there. Okay, so let's pull in the ones we're supposed to use, which is our border. And we're going to be using this one here that says thanks. We'll do the thanks first, then the dad. So we're going to bring this in here. Let's do the thanks. A little bit longer of a video today. So thanks down here, right there. It was all that talking at the beginning about the new Stampin' Up changes. Now, it comes with a sun, so you can do thanks sun as well, right? Let's season that. Give it a little scrubby. This one I'm really gonna, when you have a solid a solid stamp that just has a bit more surface area to it, it's really important to make sure that you get it fully seasoned, or the ink will pool and then you won't get a good image. So here you can see that there's lots of splotching in it. So I'm going to make sure I stamp this a few times. There's more than enough ink in this little stamp pad to last you quite a while. So you can do there. That's even getting better. Now, if you're camping or something and you don't have an extra piece of scrap paper, use this backing piece. This will work just as good. Okay, that's looking much better. So we're gonna go, thanks, Dad. Right there. That's looking good. I would say that's not super centered though. So I may have wanted to do this a little bit differently. I should have maybe done the dad first and then the thanks. Not sure. I thought I was doing pretty good, but I would say should go a little higher with that thanks. It shouldn't be a ½ inch down. Maybe put it a ¼ inch down, because my spacing is not as ideal as I would hope it to be. I might go a little bit lower, considering this is a sign. I'm gonna go a little bit lower, so I'm gonna have a bit of a white gap on the top, but then I won't have a white gap between the words. So this is how mine ended up being, but I would say if everything went up a little bit, it would probably be a little more evenly spaced. But I think closing this in, so this is the main area, and then leaving a white gap would be a little more appealing to the eye. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so we've done all of our stamping. Oh no, we haven't. This one here, you're a lifesaver. Let's get that one on. Season and clean. And Lifesaver is a good one to have on this one because there's a life preserver jacket on it. So it's pretty fitting. Pretty fitting to have a life preserver on there for this card. And it's always great when you have somebody that you can depend on. If you've got a dad that you can depend on that comes and saves you. Okay, so this one here, we're stamping it to the left. You can see here that you're going a little bit to the left. So I'm going to go about ½ inch from the left here. And that's where I'm going to place my stamp. About ½ inch. There we go. Okie dokie. Let's take that one off. And we've done all of our stamping because I did this piece ahead of time. So now we're going to flip all of our pieces over. Thanks, Dad. You're a lifesaver. This one's just that. We've got both of our paddles, which are going to be done the same. This one's got a ½ and ½ on it. And we've got our life preserver jacket, which means that this side here, if we flip it over, we're going to be putting our dimensionals on this side. Okay. Then we've got our scene. And we've got our circle. Now the circle looks really good. It's got no pieces on it. The scene has a couple of little pieces on it. There we go. And our paddles are definitely showing some little white bits on them. So yeah, having a pair of scissors is a lovely addition to your card making journey. I love these little paddles. These are very reminiscent of like a lake scene. And yeah, definitely reminds me of Kenora. Kenora, such a beautiful spot. We were there in the early part of the day. We left pretty early, but one of our kiddos has been there for the sunsets, and it's just spectacular. She went to a camp there, and they caught a boat and went out to an island, and it was a kids camp, and it was just stunning. The photos she came back with, and was a beautiful trip. And she was helping other kids just like her. And yeah, it was just, when she came back, she was like, Mom, I just love that. I just love that place. And I thought, yeah, I get it. I only got to stay there for a couple of seconds. Now, where did I put my tear and tape? Did you see where I put it? Have you seen it? I have no idea what I did with it. Everything's usually on my station here. Did I drop it? Oh, wow. I'm just going to bring in another one I just have in front of me. Same though. Okay. This one's a little bit wide. I tore that one a little bit wide, so I'll put it on that one, but I need a little bit less wide for this. We've got 1 and 2 tear and tapes on the stamped banner. We've got a tiny bit of tear and tape here on this edge of our paddle, which if I had scissors, I'd probably be a little more precise with that. I'm going to throw that away, and then I'm going to grab my scissors because it is the tiniest little bit, and my chubby little fingers are taking too much tear and tape. Okay, there, and just a little sliver there. So you don't have to tear it. You can just use that. Okay, and then this one here is nice and long. Here, and then we've got 2 strips on here. 1 and 2. And now you can see that you can do these ahead of time. So I'm going to flip this one over and put it on here because it's harder to get it done when there's dimensionals on it. So I'm just going to do this one here, and then I'll flip it back over and put the dimensionals on. That is so nice. So this is very reminiscent to me of our Spotlight on Nature dies, which are circles with all kinds of cool edging on them. But it kind of looks like a picnic plate a little bit. Okay, so there we go. Now I can put the dimensionals on the back here, and I will feel good about it. 1, 2, whoop, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay. We did our 3 here. We've done 2 there. We need to do some dimensionals on the backs of our paddles. We've got 2 here. And then we've got 2 here. And 2 here. Okay. So now let's start doing some layering. We're going to pull in our base. Fold this in half. Use your block or bone folder to really crease that edge. Okay, and then first up, I'm going to put on my lake scene, or sorry, my cabin scene here. So let's do that first. We're just placing that about 1/2 inch from the top, and then we're going to get about 1/4 inch left and right. There we go. Looking good. Next up, we're going to put on our You Are a Lifesaver. Place that I'm going to say about a 1/4 inch down and centered left and right. 1/4 inch down from the bottom of our, it is a lake scene. It is a lake scene, a cabin and a lake, because we got reflection in the water there. Okay. Then we're going to place our sign. Actually, you know, I should have placed this sign beforehand. Let's use my take your pick. I need it. I don't have those nails. Now, I should have put the stamped part on there before I did this, but yeah, so now I'm trying to tuck under here, and I've gone and adhered it. So this is going to be right flush against my piece here, and I'm going to put the sign centered to the You Are a Lifesaver. And I would have normally just tucked that under, but I actually think it's better in hindsight now. It's better that I knew where this was placed before I put this sign on, because you can see that you want it, you kind of can see that you want it centered to wherever your stamped imagery is. Okay. Then Thanks Dad is going to go on top of that. And then we've got one paddle. These are both the same paddles. So we're just going to take off our backing because this is going to stick to our scene. And then this piece is going to pop up like our sign. Okay. So this one's going to go across and down. I want it to the left of my stamp here. And then this one here is going to go, this one here is going to go a little bit up, and it's going to go right next to that Thanks Dad. It's going to go across and up, and then this final Lifesaver jacket, life preserver, is going to go to the right of that. Layering there. I'm actually going to go a little higher with it. We're going to put that right there. And then this one didn't call for any of the stones. You could add some if you want, but I mean, there's just enough for the projects, I believe. Yeah, there's just enough for the projects. So there's not really extras of those, but yeah, this is cool. Actually, there might be a couple of flat ones extras, but yeah, this is a very cool card. And again, if you wanted to be extra, you could add a little bit of Wink of Stella to the water just to get the water to sparkle a little. That would be my little add-on, but that's it. So we've done our 3 projects. I go quite slow with them. I don't do them super quick so that you can see all the steps. But if you start pulling out your pieces and you organize them all, once you start doing 3 at a time, it gets pretty fast. So there's our projects for today. Let me know if you like this set. I think it's beautiful. It reminds me of several different places that I could go on vacation to for a little bit of peace and quiet and R&R. But yeah, those are our projects for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time. Bye.